Hello and welcome to Left, Right, Center. I'm Shaun Boyd. We begin with the latest twist in a power struggle that's consumed the Colorado Republican Party. Last month, opponents of party chair Dave Williams voted to oust him after a series of controversies, including using party resources for his own congressional campaign, attacking fellow Republicans, and making anti-LGBTQ remarks. They replaced him with Eli Bremer, but Williams refused to leave, prompting Bremer to sue. An El Paso County judge has now settled that dispute in Williams' favor, ruling that the party bylaws require 60% of the Central Committee to remove the chair, and opponents failed to get that. Williams is now promising revenge in and out of court. Joining me are analysts Republican Dick Wadhams and Democrat Mike Dino. So, Dick, you know, a lot of Republican campaigns have refused to even work with Williams. They don't trust him. And really, the party doesn't have a lot of resources anyway. So how does all this affect the vote in November?
They don't have anything going on, Shaun. That party exists solely to fulfill Dave Williams' ambitions, and that have nothing to do with electing Republicans. And this threat of revenge against his opponents, and in the next breath saying we need to unify, how does that square? I mean, this guy is so off the wall. Yeah, he got a court decision, but he has left nothing but wreckage in his wake. And the party is not going to do well this for a lot of reasons, probably in this election. Trump's going to lose the state by anywhere from 15 to 11. And the fact of the matter is he piles on that wreckage.
Yeah. So, Mike, the GOP Central Committee meets in March. They could replace Williams at that point. Do you think they will?
Well, one thing I disagree with Dick just slightly on is that the Republicans will do well, likely, in 3 congressional districts. Certainly, they'll have a new congressman in the 5th in Colorado Springs. You know, we'll talk about this, but I do think that the 3rd favors the Republicans, and of course the 4th does. And those 3 Republicans, once they get elected or re-elect, well, all of them elected to new seats in Congress, they've really got to stand up to him. And we've seen that with Boebert already. She kind of called him on it, says you better get it together. Right. And we know that Crank, who was challenged by him in Colorado Springs, well, he doesn't have any love for Williams. No. And if Jeff Hurd finds himself in Congress, they got to band together and they got to get rid of the guy.
Yeah, I think they all called for him to resign.
Yeah, and the National Republican Congressional Committee, they have filled the void that left by Williams. They've gone in and they're helping those candidates. And Mike, you are right. Gabe Evans and Jeff Hurd and Jeff Crank are stars. And if they get elected, they really could kind of start the building of a new Republican Party in Colorado.
Yeah. Oh, we'll see.
Trying to help Dick out.
Nice of you.
Thank you, Mike.
Because it's just a soap opera. It's terrible. I mean, I don't know what to say anymore.
Well, many Republicans are worried the infighting could hurt their nominees in competitive races like Congressional District 8, where former state representative Gabe Evans is challenging Democratic incumbent Yadira Caraveo. The race could decide control of the U.S. House, and both sides have launched attack ads focused on the border crisis. I gave them a reality check, which you can check out on our website, cbscolorado.com. So, Mike, I want to talk about these ads. Caraveo's ad, have you believe that she's some border security hawk here? But she cites a vote to fund Homeland Security to back that up, which kind of weak, Most Democrats voted for that. A lot of Republicans voted for that. But she signed a letter, and it was a couple years ago, but calling for the defunding of ICE and Border Patrol. How vulnerable is she on this issue? Immigration's a pretty big issue this election.
You look at any poll out there, it is one of the top issues that certainly favors Republicans. And but we forget, before the August recess, she did vote for Republicans to kind of disparage Kamala Harris and her border czar stuff. She was one of the few Democrats that signed on to that. I really think the Democrats got to come in with some of their ads of their own, blaming the president, the former president, that is, former President Donald Trump, for getting in the way of a good border deal. We heard that during the debate between the presidential candidates, and of course the Democrats brought it up during the convention. And I think that's a big issue, that he stood in the way of a good deal, a bipartisan deal. And then if you really want to go back to it, I mean, we can blame it on Donald Trump, who claimed he was going to build a wall with money from Mexico and solve the whole problem, of which he did not do. And so Democrats got to raise their voices on that, and they got to help Caravelle that way.
Although Gabe Evans wasn't in Congress, so he didn't, you know, the Republicans that are running, you mentioned Crank and Hurd and Evans, all weren't in Congress, so they didn't get to vote on that.
No, they didn't, but I mean, you throw everybody in the same pot. That's the way I look at it.
All right. He's run campaigns. So Dick, Evans is really playing up his military experience. He's in the Army, and also his law enforcement experience when it comes to border security. He points to a study out of the University of Virginia that actually found that veteran representatives are 35% more effective in getting legislation passed. But, I mean, do you really think military experience factors into the vote very much?
I do. And by the way, whenever I see Caravello's commercials, I think, is she running for the Republican nomination still? That primary was a few weeks ago. Anyway, no, I think that Gabe has the right resume for that district. And he's young, and he's smart, and he's articulate. And I think that military background is impressive. I mean, he was a helicopter pilot. That's not an easy job or a very safe one in Afghanistan, when he was in Afghanistan. And I think he's running a really good campaign, and I think he could win this thing. I really do.
Yeah, we'll see. Although, as I say in my fact check, I don't know if being a helicopter pilot and being a police officer means you have the answer to the border crisis, right? That's, you know. No,
but it's just something about your character and your commitment to the country. I mean, you know, and so I think it's a plus.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, CBS News Colorado will be hosting a debate between CD8 candidates 3 weeks from today. Up next, Colorado Congressional District 3 candidates face off in their first debate. And Aurora City Council changes its policies around public comment at meetings. Welcome back to Left, Right, Center. Colorado Republicans are fighting to hold on to Lauren Boebert's seat in Congressional District 3 after she switched to CD4, where Republicans hold a bigger advantage. CD3 encompasses most of the western slope and part of southern Colorado. Democrat Adam Frisch, who nearly beat Boebert in 2022, is taking on Republican Jeff Hurd. Club 20 hosted a debate between the candidates this past week to discuss energy, agriculture, public lands, and the economy. The subject of corporate donations also surfaced repeatedly.
Unlike my opponent, I'm not beholden to corporate PAC money or extreme politicians that have funded and supported his campaign, cozying up or hosting fundraisers with out-of-state politicians, and I certainly won't be taking political or financial support from Denver lobbyists trying to take water out of the San Luis Valley. I am focused on place-based policies and solutions, not party politics, that I practice every day. When I oppose burdensome regulations by the Biden administration or Denver that would undermine our important domestic energy or agricultural industries, I'm not teaming up with Republicans. I'm advocating for what is right for CD3 in our country.
My opponent, an Aspen Democrat, says he's moderate. But look at what he does. He supported a liberal energy agenda on the Aspen City Council. He says he doesn't take corporate donations, but has Democratic PACs funneling him corporate money. He says he wants a serious campaign, but spends millions saying, "I won't protect our water," while knowing that's not true. He says he wants the political circus, but spent hundreds of thousands interfering in the Republican primary to beat me.
So, Dick, Hurd had a funny analogy regarding Frisch not taking money from corporate PACs, but taking money from super PACs that are funded by corporations. He says it's like saying you don't get Taco Bell because you order it through Uber Eats. I thought that helps people to understand. Sure. I think a lot of people don't understand this, but do voters even care?
I think campaigns always fall into the trap of thinking the voters do care about campaign finance. But same thing as what I said about the 8th District. I listened to Frisch. and it sounds like he's running for the Republican nomination. I mean, this guy has dived right on every issue on the Western Slope, and it's not going to work. I mean, that is the Republican district. Hurd is a much stronger candidate than Boebert was, and he's going to win that seat. So,
Mike, that's a question I have for you. Frisch does downplay his party affiliation quite a bit. He says he's on Team CD3 and Team Common Sense. He did almost beat Boebert, within about 500 votes, right?
He did.
What are his chances against Hurd?
Well, that was the worst thing that happened to him, was when Boebert decided to leave the Western Slope. I mean, he raised so much money because of it. It was a great foil, and he would have had a good chance. Dick put out a range for Harris winning the state, Vice President Harris, between 11 and 15%. The higher margin she has in the state may give him a chance. He's got the money to be competitive, but he needs a really good coattails from the presidential race. And if that number is closer to the 11 that Dick was talking about, it's harder for him to win.
Although I can't see Harris doing that well in the 3rd district. She will run up the score in the Front Range.
There are a lot of Trump supporters in CD3, too.
No, I think, though, a lot of Front Range people have moved to the Western Slope.
Well, that's true,
there's
too.
That,
you know, and so I do think if Harris gets 15% or more, that will help in the 3rd.
Yeah, definitely. Well, earlier this year, we talked about how Weld County commissioners had eliminated public comment for topics not on the agenda after some meetings got heated. Now, Aurora City Council is changing its rules around public comment. After a racist, anti-Semitic, homophobic rant from a caller was broadcast live, the council decided it would no longer allow people to call in with comments. It's also requiring those who want to comment to sign up in person just before the meeting, and is limiting public comment to 30 minutes total. Recent meetings have been interrupted by protesters supporting the family of Kylan Lewis, an unarmed black man shot and killed by Aurora police. Those protesters say the changes are meant to silence them. So, Dick, is council overreacting here?
No, I don't think so. In fact, I think we've reached a tipping point on public officials having to endure verbal and that could lead to physical abuse. And I think they should listen to the public. There should be comment period. But I think it's going too far. And I think the Aurora Council was right to shut it down, especially after that rant by that guy. And I think there needs to be more civility at these meetings. And that's just the way it should be.
You know, there was a bill at the state capitol that dealt with barring concealed carry in various locations, and one of the locations was these local government meetings, city council and county commission meetings. You know, Mike, Aurora, Weld County, they aren't the only ones struggling with these raucous meetings. So do you see other councils following their lead?
They should. I think that, the pandemic was a special situation. Well, we're 4 years away from it now. And we don't need to I don't believe local government in general needs to make that accommodation. One, a lot of local people who want to have a voice are squeezed out.
Right.
And again, local city councils, if you have an issue, you should show up in person. We don't need to hear from these folks nationally about what's going on at a city council meeting. And the other thing I like to see change, elected officials got to show up in person. No more remote signing in and attending a meeting.
Yep.
That's got to be done.
What about at the state capitol?
State legislature? I mean, this stuff, it's over. We got to just, you show up in person.
Darn it.
You state your case, you show up in person, and you legislate.
I'm for Mike.
To do that.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I like zooming in, but, I got to show up here.
Yeah, that's right. I don't let you. Well,
you let me zoom in. You did.
On occasion. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching Left, Right, Center. We'll see you next time.